7-year-old Hannah Kim ran through the colorful gardens of New Eden Colony, her small hands reaching for the floating light butterflies that danced in the warm afternoon air. Her dark hair bounced as she laughed, playing hide-and-seek with her best friends, Zeph, a young blue-skinned Altarian whose tentacles wiggled when he giggled, and Kira, a fuzzy orange Felixian who could climb trees faster than anyone. "Found you," Hannah called out in perfect Altarian, making Zeph's large eyes sparkle with delight. She had learned his language just by playing with him every day for the past 2 years. Her parents always said she had a gift for understanding others, no matter how different they looked. The colony of New Eden was special. Unlike other human settlements scattered across the galaxy, this world welcomed everyone. Families from dozens of different alien races lived together in harmony. The streets buzzed with the sounds of various languages mixing together like a beautiful song. Children of all species played together while their parents worked side by side in the research facilities and diplomatic centers. Hannah's mother, Dr. Minji Kim, studied alien plants in the biology labs. Her father, Dr. Jinho Kim, worked with alien animals, learning how different creatures lived and what they needed to stay healthy. Both parents were proud that their daughter could make friends with anyone, no matter how many arms they had or what color their skin was. "Hannah, time for lunch," her mother called from their house near the diplomatic quarter. The little girl waved goodbye to her friends and skipped home, her school bag bouncing against her back. Inside the bag were drawings she had made for the Festival of Unity happening tomorrow. Pictures of all her friends holding hands in a big circle around their beautiful world, far above New Eden, hidden behind the shadow of the system's largest moon. A dark ship waited. Inside, Commander Vex of the Sclareth hegemony studied video feeds of the colony below. His red eyes focused on the small human child playing with alien younglings, and his thin lips curved into a cruel smile. The Sclareth were known throughout the galaxy as masters of fear. They conquered worlds not just with weapons, but by breaking the spirit of their enemies. They had studied humans for years, watching from the shadows as these strange creatures spread across the stars. What they saw confused them. Humans seemed weak. They cared too much about others. They spent time helping alien races instead of conquering them. "Soft," Vex whispered to his second-in-command. "These humans are too soft to be a real threat. Look how they let their children play with inferior species. They have no strength, no pride in their own kind." The Sclareth had a plan. They would take one human child, just one, and show the galaxy how weak humanity really was. They would broadcast the capture to every world, every ship, every space station. Everyone would see that humans could not even protect their own young. Other species would lose respect for humanity, and the Sclareth could expand their empire without interference. They had chosen Hannah Kim because she was perfect for their purposes. She was young, innocent, and clearly loved by many different species. Her capture would cause maximum emotional damage, not just to humans, but to all the alien races who had grown fond of humanity's peaceful ways. The next day, the Festival of Unity began with music and dancing in the colony's central plaza. Thousands of beings from dozens of worlds gathered together, sharing food, stories, and laughter. Hannah wore her best dress, a bright yellow one with small flowers that her grandmother had sent from Earth. She held hands with Zeph and Kira as they watched performers from different worlds show their traditional dances. The attack came without warning. One moment, Hannah was clapping for a group of singing crystals from the harmonic worlds. The next moment, dark figures in combat suits appeared from nowhere, their teleportation technology allowing them to bypass all the colony's defenses. "Mama! Papa!" Hannah screamed as strong arms grabbed her, lifting her off the ground. The crowd panicked, aliens and humans alike running in all directions, but the Sclareth moved with military precision, forming a protective circle around their prize. Dr. Jinho Kim pushed through the chaos, reaching desperately for his daughter. "Let her go, please, she's just a child." Commander Vex appeared, his tall form towering over the desperate father. "Your child is now a lesson," he said in heavily accented standard. "A lesson about the price of weakness." The Sclareth activated her broadcasting device. sending the signal across known space. Every world with communication technology would receive the message. Little Hannah's terrified face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy as she reached toward her parents with small, trembling hands. "This is what happens to species that choose cooperation over strength," Vex announced to the universe. "The Sclareth hegemony takes what it wants, when it wants. Let this human child's fate remind you all, the weak exist only at our mercy." The transport beam activated, and Hannah disappeared in a column of red light, her last cry echoing across the silent plaza. Her parents collapsed to their knees, staring at the empty space where their daughter had been just moments before. The Sclareth ship vanished into hyperspace, carrying away the most precious thing in two parents' universe. They had no idea that their actions would soon wake something far more dangerous than they could possibly imagine. The news reached Earth exactly 18 hours and 43 minutes after Hannah Kim disappeared. In the emergency command center, buried 3 miles beneath Seoul, silence fell like a heavy blanket over the room full of military officers and government officials. They stared at the screens, showing the little girl's terrified face as she was taken by the Sclareth. Admiral Zhou Lee sat perfectly still in his chair, his weathered hands folded on the metal table. At 68 years old, he had spent his entire life keeping one very important secret. For 40 years he had smiled at alien diplomats, signed peaceful trade agreements, and pretended that humanity was nothing more than curious explorers who wanted to be friends with everyone. It was all a lie. "Sir," Colonel Taek-Yoon asked quietly, "what are your orders?" Admiral Lee stood up slowly, his joints creaking from decades of military service. He walked to a secure wall panel and placed his palm against the scanner. Red lights flashed as the system confirmed his identity. Then a hidden door slid open to reveal a room that officially did not exist. Inside were communication devices that could reach every corner of the galaxy instantly. Maps showing the real positions of human ships, not the few hundred vessels the aliens knew about, but the thousands that had been hiding in empty space for generations. And most importantly, a single red button that no one ever wanted to press. "Activate protocol." "7," Admiral Lee said, his voice steady despite the storm of rage building in his chest. "Send the awakening signal to all sleeper assets. The pretense is over." Across the galaxy, humans who had spent their entire lives pretending to be simple traders, researchers, and diplomats received coded messages on devices they had hoped never to use. Captain Yoonji Park, commanding what appeared to be a harmless cargo ship near the edge of Sclareth space, smiled grimly as her vessel's true nature revealed itself. Hidden weapon systems emerged from fake cargo containers. Her crew of supposed merchants dropped their disguises and became the elite military unit they had always been. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, what looked like an asteroid processing facility suddenly came alive with activity. The miners were actually technicians maintaining humanity's most advanced weapons, planet-cracking missiles that could split worlds in half, stellar manipulation devices that could make stars explode, technologies so dangerous that most species would refuse to believe they existed. Agent Sora Nam had spent 22 years working as a cultural attaché on the Rigel station, one of the galaxy's biggest trade hubs. Everyone knew her as the friendly human who helped settle disputes between different species. They had no idea she was one of humanity's most skilled intelligence operatives, with a memory bank containing the secrets of every major alien civilization. She walked calmly to her apartment, sealed the door, and activated equipment hidden behind false walls. Within minutes, she had accessed the private communications of every Sclareth official on the station, their military codes, their ship movements, their secret bases. Everything flowed into human databases faster than the Sclareth could possibly imagine. The oldest species in the galaxy knew what was coming. The Arcturians, who had been traveling among the stars for over 1,000,000 years, immediately began evacuating their border worlds. Their ancient leaders remembered the last time humans had dropped their peaceful mask, and the memory still gave them nightmares. "They have taken a human child," Elder Zarathan told his council, his crystalline form shimmering with worry. "The galaxy will burn before they let this crime go unpunished." But the younger races, The ones who had only known humanity for a few hundred years laughed at such warnings. The Sclareth hegemony was one of the most powerful military forces in known space. Humans were peaceful explorers who cared more about making friends than making war. What could they possibly do? They were about to find out. Deep in the Proxima system, Commander Minseo Han received activation codes that made his blood run cold. His ship, the Quiet Thunder, had been disguised as a scientific research vessel for 15 years. In reality, it was one of 300 stealth destroyers spread throughout the galaxy, each one capable of destroying an entire fleet. "All stations, this is Commander Han," he announced to his crew. "We are no longer researchers, we are hunters. A human child has been taken, and we will not rest until she is returned and her captors are eliminated." His weapons officer, Lieutenant Jiwon Lim, powered up systems that had been dormant for decades. "Sir, all weapons are online. Stealth field is active. We are invisible to all known detection systems." Similar scenes played out on hundreds of ships throughout the galaxy. Humanity's true military might began to stir like a sleeping dragon opening its eyes. The careful work of generations was about to pay off. While other species had spent centuries fighting obvious wars, humans had been playing a much deeper game. Admiral Lee stood in his command center, watching as status reports flooded in from assets the galaxy never knew existed. Every human ship, base, and agent was ready. The network was complete. "They wanted to see humanity's true nature," he said quietly to his staff. "They are about to learn why our ancestors conquered an entire world filled with predators. They are about to discover why we never truly forgot how to hunt." The hunt for Hana Kim was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Junho Choi stood on the bridge of the Hana's Hope, watching as his ship slipped through space like a shadow. For 12 years, he had led rescue missions that officially never happened. His team specialized in the impossible, finding people who had vanished without a trace and bringing them home alive. But this mission was different. This time, it was personal for every human in the galaxy. "Sir, we have intercepted Sclareth communications," reported Lieutenant Yuna Oh from her station. Her fingers danced across holographic displays as streams of alien text flowed past. "They are moving the child every 6 hours, currently heading toward the Vega sector." Junho nodded grimly. The Sclareth were being careful, but not careful enough. They did not know that humans had been listening to their private channels for decades. Every word they spoke, every order they gave was being recorded by human intelligence networks spread across the galaxy. 3 sectors away, Agent Sora Nam sat in what appeared to be a normal cafe on Rigel Station. She sipped her coffee and smiled at passing aliens, while her hidden equipment sucked information from every Sclareth device within 50 kilometers. Her 22 years of deep cover work had given her access to communication networks that the Sclareth thought were completely secure. "Target acquired," she whispered into her coffee cup, knowing that human listening posts would pick up her words. "The Sclareth Governor Krex just received new orders. They are taking the child to a facility on Xerion Prime." The information flowed instantly to human command centers throughout the galaxy. Within minutes, ships began moving towards Xerion Prime from 6 different directions. But the Sclareth were not stupid. They knew someone might try to follow them. Captain Hyun Kang commanded the stealth cruiser, Silent Justice, one of the most advanced ships in humanity's hidden fleet. His vessel could pass through enemy sensor networks like a ghost, invisible to all known detection methods. He had been hunting Sclareth raiders for 8 years, always staying in the shadows, always denying that humans had military ships at all. "Captain, we are detecting massive Sclareth fleet movements," his sensor officer reported. "They are moving, their heaviest battleships to guard the Xerion system." Hyun smiled coldly. The Sclareth thought they were being clever by concentrating their forces. They did not realize that human intelligence had already mapped every one of their secret bases, supply routes, and emergency protocols. This concentration of ships would make the coming battle easier, not harder. On the planet Xerion Prime, little Hana Kim sat in a cold metal cell, trying to be brave like her parents had taught her. The Sclareth guards spoke in harsh voices outside her door, but she could not understand their language. She was hungry and scared, but she remembered what her father had told her about being strong when things were difficult. She did not know that 300 human ships were already moving toward her location. Agent Dohi Park had spent 15 years working as a maintenance engineer on Sklareth military bases. Everyone saw her as just another human worker who fixed broken equipment and kept the lights on. They never suspected that she had been mapping their defenses, studying their weapons and learning their weaknesses. Now she stood in the underground tunnels beneath the main prison complex on Zerion Prime, placing small devices that would disable the facility's power grid when the time came. Her heart pounded as she thought about the little girl trapped somewhere above her head. "Almost finished," she whispered to her communicator. "When you give the signal, this entire complex will go dark for exactly 17 minutes. The Sklareth had made their first mistake by keeping Hana in one of their most secure facilities. They thought the heavy defenses would keep rescuers away. Instead, they had given the humans a perfect target, one place where they could focus all their attention and firepower. Commander Junho's ship arrived at the edge of the Zerion system first, followed by Captain Hyun's cruiser and dozens of other vessels. The Sklareth fleet was impressive, over 200 warships arranged in defensive formations around the planet. Any normal military force would have been discouraged by such numbers, but humans had not fought a normal war in centuries. "All units. This is Commander Choi," Junho announced on the secure channel. "Remember, we are not here to conquer territory or capture prisoners. We are here to bring one little girl home safely. Everything else is secondary." Lieutenant Yuna O studied the enemy formations on her screens. "Sir, I count 47 prison facilities on the planet's surface. How do we know which one contains the target?" The answer came from Agent Sora Nam, still sitting calmly in her cafe 3 sectors away. "Cell Block 7, Level 3, Room 42, she reported. "The governor just ordered extra guards placed there. That has to be where they are keeping her." The information flowed to every human ship in the system. Now they knew exactly where to strike. The Sklareth had revealed their prize by trying to protect it better. "All ships prepare for simultaneous assault," Junho ordered. "We go in fast, we get the girl, and we show these butchers what happens when they take a human child." The hunt was about to become a battle, and the Sklareth were about to learn that humans had been hiding their true nature for far too long. The rescue team moved through the dark corridors of the Sklareth prison like deadly shadows. Commander Junho Choi led his squad past the bodies of guards who had tried to stop them. Agent Dohi Park's sabotage had worked perfectly. The entire facility was running on emergency power, and most of the security systems were offline. "Cell. Block 7 just ahead," whispered Sergeant Minho Jang, checking his scanner. The hallway stretched before them, lined with heavy metal doors. Behind each door was a prisoner from some alien world, but they were looking for only one. "Room 42, Junho said quietly, his heart pounding as they approached the cell. He could hear something moving inside, a small sound like a child trying not to cry. The door was locked with Sklareth technology, but Lieutenant Yuna O made quick work of the electronic systems. The heavy door slid open with a soft hiss, and Junho stepped inside with his weapon ready. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. Little Hana Kim lay on the cold floor, her yellow dress torn and dirty. Her small body was covered with bruises and cuts. The Sklareth had not just taken her, they had tortured her. A 7-year-old child who had never hurt anyone in her entire life. "Hana," Junho whispered, kneeling beside the broken little girl. "We are here to take you home." Hana's eyes fluttered open, and she looked up at him with confusion. Are you Korean like me?" she asked in a voice so small he could barely hear it. "Yes, little one. I am Korean. Your mama and papa sent us to find you." Junho gently lifted her into his arms, trying not to think about how light she felt, how much weight she had lost. "I tried to be brave," Hana whispered, her head resting against his chest. "I tried to be strong like Papa taught me, but it hurt so much." "You were very brave," Junho told her, his voice breaking. "The bravest little girl in the whole galaxy." They moved quickly through the prison corridors, but Junho could feel something was wrong. Hana was getting weaker in his arms. Her breathing was becoming more difficult. The Sklareth had done something terrible to her, something that could... not be fixed with simple medical care. "Commander," Sergeant Minho called urgently, "we need to get her to the medical bay immediately. Her life signs are dropping." They ran through the emergency tunnels that Agent Dohe had mapped, carrying their precious cargo toward the waiting rescue ship. But as they reached the Hana's Hope, the little girl in Junho's arms began to shake. "Tell them," she whispered, her small hand gripping his uniform. "Tell Mama and Papa that I was brave. Tell them I was not afraid at the end." "You are going to tell them yourself," Junho said desperately, but he could see the light fading from her eyes. Dr. Seok-Jin Yu, the ship's medical officer, worked frantically over Hana's small form in the medical bay, but the damage was too severe. The Sklareth had broken too many things inside her fragile body. Her organs were failing from the torture she had endured. "I am sorry," Dr. Yu said quietly, stepping back from the medical table. "There is nothing more I can do." Commander Junho held Hana's hand as she took her last breath. The little girl who had played with alien children and learned their languages, who had drawn pictures of friendship and unity, who had represented the best of humanity. She was gone. The silence on the ship lasted exactly 30 seconds. Then Lieutenant Yunao began transmitting a message that would change everything. "All human forces, this is the Hana's Hope. The child is dead. Repeat, Hana Kim is dead. They tortured her to death. There will be no prisoners taken. There will be no mercy shown. Authorization code, Righteous Fury." The message reached Admiral Do-Yun Lee on Earth within minutes. The old admiral stood in his command center, reading the report with hands that shook with rage. Around him, his staff waited in absolute silence. "Gentlemen," Admiral Lee said in a voice like winter itself, "the Sklareth hegemony has just signed their own death warrant. They have murdered a human child. There will be consequences." He walked to the wall panel again, but this time he entered a different code. Security systems that had never been activated before came online. Weapons that violated every galactic treaty began powering up. Ships that existed only in classified files started moving towards Sklareth space. "Send the execution order to all fleet commanders," Admiral Lee said calmly. "The Sklareth species is to be considered an extinction-level threat to all civilized life. There will be no negotiations. There will be no surrender accepted. They end today." Captain Yoonji Park received the order aboard her stealth destroyer. She looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of Sklareth ships guarding their homeworld. "All weapons systems online," she ordered her crew. "Target everything that moves, for Hana." The human ships dropped their disguises throughout Sklareth space. Cargo vessels revealed themselves as battleships. Mining platforms became orbital weapons platforms. Research stations activated planet-killing weapons that most species thought were impossible to build. Within 1 hour, the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen was moving towards Sklareth territory with one simple mission: complete extinction of the species that had murdered a human child. The Sklareth were about to learn that some lines should never be crossed. The war lasted exactly 72 hours. When it ended, the Sklareth hegemony no longer existed. Captain Yoonji Park stood on the bridge of her destroyer, watching the last Sklareth battleship explode in the distance. Around her, hundreds of human warships hung in space like metal predators, their weapons still glowing from the battle. The Sklareth homeworld below them was dark and silent, its military bases reduced to smoking craters. "All enemy forces eliminated," reported her weapons officer. No Sklareth military vessels remain operational in this sector. It had been the same story across their entire empire. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously at every Sklareth world, using weapons that turned their strongest defenses into dust. Planet Cracker missiles had shattered their fortress worlds. Stellar manipulators had destroyed entire starbases by making nearby suns flare with deadly radiation. AI hunter swarms had tracked down every fleeing ship and eliminated them with mechanical precision. The galaxy watched in shocked silence as humanity revealed its true nature. Species that had known humans for centuries suddenly realized they had been living next to the most dangerous predators in known space. The peaceful explorers and friendly traders had been a mask hiding something far more terrifying. On the planet Altair 7th, Elder Zarathan of the ancient Arcturian race spoke to his council with grim satisfaction. I warned you this would happen, the crystalline being said to the younger species representatives. Humans are not like us. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for their young, and when their young are threatened, they become unstoppable. The surviving Sklareth leadership was brought to New Eden for trial. Commander Vex, the one who had ordered Hana's capture, sat in chains before a tribunal of species from across the galaxy. His red eyes were dull with defeat as he listened to the charges being read against him. Judge Minho Song, one of humanity's most respected legal experts, presided over the proceedings. The courtroom was packed with representatives from every major civilization, all wanting to witness justice for the crimes that had shocked the galaxy. You stand accused of crimes against sentient children, Judge Song announced, in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. The evidence shows that your organization has systematically tortured and murdered younglings from 47 different species over the past 2 centuries. The evidence was overwhelming. Human intelligence had recovered files from every Sklareth facility, showing decades of horrific abuse. Children from dozens of worlds had been taken, experimented on, and killed for the simple crime of belonging to species the Sklareth considered weak. The verdict is unanimous, Judge Song declared after 3 days of testimony. The Sklareth hegemony is guilty of crimes against the innocent. The sentence is complete dissolution of your civilization and redistribution of your resources to your victims. But the trial was only the beginning of the changes sweeping across the galaxy. Admiral Zhou Li stood before the Galactic Council, no longer hiding behind the pretense of peaceful humanity. The assembled representatives from hundreds of worlds listened in absolute silence as he spoke. "Let this be understood by all species, on all worlds, in all systems," the Admiral said, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's revealed power. "Earth and her colonies hereby establish the Hana-Kim Accords. Any species that harms children of any race will face immediate extinction. This is not a threat. This is a promise." The accords were signed by every major power within a month. Nobody wanted to risk becoming humanity's next target. Director Yuna Oh became the first head of the Galactic Child Protection Service, backed by the most powerful military force the universe had ever seen. Her agents, recruited from every species, patrolled the galaxy with human ships as escorts. When they received reports of child abuse or trafficking, they responded with overwhelming force. The criminal organizations that had preyed on young beings for centuries simply vanished. Pirates who specialized in selling children to slave markets found their bases destroyed by invisible human ships. Corrupt officials who turned blind eyes to abuse discovered that humans had very long memories and very accurate weapons. On New Eden, where little Hana had played just months before, a memorial garden was built in her honor. Children from every known species came to play among the flowers planted in her memory. The inscription on the central monument was written in dozens of languages, but the message was the same in all of them. She was brave. Dr. Jinho Kim and Dr. Minji Kim, Hana's parents, attended the memorial service along with representatives from across the galaxy. They watched as alien children played safely in the gardens where their daughter had once laughed, knowing that her sacrifice had made the universe safer for all young beings. "She would have liked this," Dr. Minji whispered to her husband, tears flowing down her cheeks as she watched a group of Altarian and Felixian younglings playing together, just as Hana had with her friends. "She did like it," Dr. Jinho replied softly. "She showed us that children of all species are the same. They just want to play, to learn, to be safe. Now they can be, because of what she endured." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute unwavering commitment to protecting the innocent, regardless of what species they belonged to. And everyone understood that this protection came with a price that would be paid by anyone foolish enough to threaten a child ever again.